Good day. I am a physician. 7 daily habits are quietly raising your dementia risk. A neurologist who treated 3,000 dementia patients identified 7 habits as the true dividing line. The Lancet Commission proved that 40% of all dementia cases could be prevented or meaningfully delayed. Dementia is not an inevitable consequence of aging. It is a clinical outcome shaped by daily behavior. Most people over 50 do nothing to protect their brain until memory loss is already irreversible. Your brain actively sheds neurons every single day and needs a strong defensive reserve to compensate. We aggressively monitor blood pressure and insure our cars, but we ignore our cognitive health entirely. Crossword puzzles and generic advice are not enough because the real science goes much deeper than that. Today we detail the specific habits proven to flush amyloid plaques directly out of your living brain. We explain why 10,000 steps is a marketing myth compared to the real cognitive threshold number. We reveal the single most critical sensory factor that destroys memory long before any other symptom appears. The 7 habits we cover today are your neurological defense system against a preventable cognitive collapse. Number 7. Learn something new every day. An unchallenged brain prunes itself, losing the connections it does not use. The brain operates on a ruthless principle, which is that it prunes what it does not use. You cannot protect cognition by repeating the exact same tasks you mastered 30 years ago each day. Novel activities force your brain to rapidly forge entirely new neural pathways to handle unpredictable incoming data. Clinical trials proved that learning a new language after 60 delays clinical dementia onset by 4 years. Even learning a complex musical instrument at that age creates a formidable neurological reserve against cognitive decay. 15 focused minutes per day inside a language application is a genuine neuroprotective intervention, not casual entertainment. The key is that the activity must be genuinely novel, not slightly varied versions of familiar tasks. Once a skill feels easy, the neuroprotective benefit drops dramatically, and a new challenge must replace it. Treat learning like exercise, because your brain literally atrophies without it, regardless of how intelligent you already are. Number 6. Walk 6,000 steps. The 10,000 step target is a marketing myth with no cognitive science behind it. The fitness industry pushed 10,000 daily steps, but neuroscientists found a completely different and more precise number. A massive study in the Journal of the American Medical Association tracked older adults across multiple years carefully. For people over 60, maximum cognitive protection actually peaks between 6,000 and 8,000 daily steps. You do not need to exhaust yourself walking 10 miles, because the cognitive peak arrives far earlier. Every additional 2,000 steps up to that optimal threshold reduces your dementia risk by 25%. Cardiovascular movement directly forces aggressive blood flow into the fragile capillaries deep within your living brain tissue. A short, brisk 20-minute walk reaches the protective threshold and delivers full neuroprotective benefit for that day. Consistency matters far more than intensity, because the brain benefits from daily moderate movement, not occasional extreme effort. Start today with a 20-minute walk, track it, and understand that you have just protected your brain. Number 5. Sleep 7 to 8 hours. While you sleep, your brain flushes out the proteins that cause Alzheimer's. Sleep is not a passive rest state. It is the most aggressive biological cleaning cycle in existence. During deep, slow-wave sleep, your brain physically shrinks slightly, opening channels that allow a critical cleaning process. A specialized network called the glymphatic system uses that space to forcefully flush out toxic beta-amyloid plaques. These misfolded protein clumps are the exact biological material that accumulates and causes Alzheimer's disease over decades. If you chronically sleep fewer than 6 hours, you simply never reach the deep phase long enough. Without sufficient deep sleep, toxic proteins accumulate day after day, and ultimately double your risk of cognitive collapse. Sleeping with the phone on, alcohol at night, or irregular schedules all suppress the necessary deep phases. Your sleep environment must be dark, cool, and free from screens for the glymphatic system to activate fully. Protecting 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep each night is your most powerful anti-Alzheimer's intervention available. Number 4. Eat berries 3 times per week. Blueberries contain compounds that physically protect your brain. When neurologists built the Mind diet specifically to halt cognitive decline, they singled out berries above everything. Blueberries and strawberries are densely packed with antioxidant compounds called anthocyanins, which are powerfully neuroprotective molecules. These molecules physically cross the blood-brain barrier and fiercely combat the oxidative stress degrading your neural tissue. In massive multi-year dietary studies, berry eaters had brains that tested 7.5 years younger. That difference was measured against participants who consumed berries rarely, meaning less than once per week on average. 3 servings per week was the threshold at which maximum neuroprotective benefit became statistically significant in clinical data. A single handful of blueberries per serving is all that is required to reach that protective threshold daily. Frozen berries are equally effective as fresh berries because the anthocyanin compounds survive the freezing process completely intact. A box of frozen blueberries costs less than any supplement and delivers a measurably superior neuroprotective outcome. If you find this science-based breakdown helpful, please click subscribe and tap the notification bell right now. It only takes absolutely 1 second, but ensures you never miss the next video in this series. Number 3. Maintain one deep daily connection. Isolation shrinks the exact part of your brain that forms memory. Humans are biologically social animals, and profound chronic isolation is as toxic to the brain as a poison. Loneliness triggers a sustained cascade of stress hormones that actively shrink the hippocampus, the center of memory. Medical data proves that severe social isolation increases your baseline dementia risk by approximately 40% over time. The defense against this is remarkably simple and requires only one genuine human connection each single day. A 20-minute phone call with a close friend or family member counts as a full neuroprotective intervention. FaceTime or video calling activates the social bonding hormone oxytocin, which physically buffers the brain against neurotoxic stress. Superficial pleasantries with a cashier do not count, because the connection must require genuine emotional engagement to work. The depth of the interaction matters far more than the frequency or the channel through which it occurs. One real conversation per day is the minimum viable dose to maintain the social neuroprotection your brain requires. We have covered daily movement, sleep, architecture, diet, and the social connections that build a resilient brain. But there is a silent physical deficit affecting millions of people that alone doubles the risk of dementia. Number 2. Protect your hearing. Untreated hearing loss is the single greatest modifiable dementia risk factor worldwide. In the global fight against dementia, hearing loss is statistically classified as the #1 modifiable risk factor. When hearing begins to subtly degrade, 2 devastating neurological chain reactions occur simultaneously inside your aging brain. First, you gradually withdraw from complex social environments because following conversations becomes exhausting and unrewarding every time. Second, your brain diverts massive processing power just to decode garbled sounds, stealing resources away from memory formation. The monumental Achieve clinical trial proved that properly fitted hearing aids reduce cognitive decline by 48%. 48% is not a marginal improvement. It is a transformation of your neurological trajectory at any age. Hearing loss often develops slowly over years, which is why most people dismiss early warning signs completely. Get a hearing test if you are over 50, regardless of whether you currently notice any difficulty listening. A modern hearing aid is not a sign of weakness. It is the most powerful brain protection device available. Number 1. Control blood pressure before 60. Silent hypertension destroys the microscopic brain vessels that memory depends on completely. The entire foundation of a healthy brain depends on the structural integrity of millions of microscopic blood vessels. Carrying untreated hypertension through your 40s and 50s systematically damages these fragile cerebral capillaries for decades in advance. The mechanical pressure creates silent microstrokes you cannot feel, tearing small invisible holes in your cognitive reserve. Neurologists are completely adamant that protecting your brain at 80 requires strictly controlling blood pressure at 50 today. Your target metric must be below 130/80, without exception and without compromise, ever. Every single point above that threshold acts as a microhammer, striking your delicate and irreplaceable neural networks daily. The damage accumulates silently for 20 years before the first recognizable symptom of memory loss ever appears. Lifestyle changes alone, including reduced sodium, regular walking, and proper sleep, can bring most hypertension under control. Do not wait for symptoms, because by the time the brain signals the problem, significant damage is already done. Dementia is not an unstoppable ghost. It is a clinical outcome shaped by decades of invisible daily choices. Count right now exactly how many of these 7 habits you are actively and consistently practicing today. If the number is low, do not panic, but do take one concrete action before this day ends. Change your sleep environment tonight, call a close friend tomorrow, or download a language application right now. Pick up frozen blueberries on your next shopping trip, and book a hearing test this coming week. Adding just one protective habit today could mathematically become the single decision that saves your mind tomorrow. Your brain is waiting for your instructions, and the window to act is not as large as you think. Subscribe, tap like, drop a comment below, and share this video with someone you love.